Hey, welcome back to the Hero Signal. In today's guide, we're going to focus on Ms. Marvel, how to play her, and what you should be focusing on to build her so that you can be an undefeated champion. This undefeated build, or so I call it, is perfect for new players because it's very easy to play and it's pretty easy to master as well as long as you are able to counter properly. To break down this build, we're focusing on two main stats, Might and Resolve, with a third optional stat as Intensity. Might is meant to increase your damage so you're killing enemies much faster, but it also helps charge your ultimate ability, which will really come in handy when you're outnumbered or fighting a big boss. Resolve is to increase your health pool, but it also increases the rate at which Shining Will restores your health. Lastly, Intensity is important because it helps build the stun meter on enemies faster, and while it isn't completely necessary, it makes this build so much better for you and your teammates. The Undefeated Champion revolves around one simple tactic. You use your heavy attacks to break through enemies' defenses, stunning them, and then you use your takedowns to regenerate your heroic energy so that you can use more abilities like Embiggen. The strategy is sound and makes for an exceptionally easy way to play. For starters, Ms. Marvel is one of the easiest characters to play. She has a lot of abilities and even a specialty grab that can grasp small enemies or even large enemies when embiggened. There are a lot of great moves to work with, but in this guide, let me be the first one to tell you, you do not need any of them. Primarily, the heavy attack and intrinsic ability tree are the main two trees that you should focus on. Kamala's basic heavy combo builds an enemy stun bar quickly and doesn't do terrible damage. Kamala also has a heavy charge called Sliding Kick and a heavy dodge counter called Rubber Band Bash. Both Sliding Kick and Rubber Band Bash should be the first on the list of unlocks in her heavy tree. Her aerial combo, Hammer Fist, and Fist of Justice are one of the best aerial attacks in the game currently. And just in case you want to use your counter, Kamala even has a heavy counter attack, Palm Strike. All of these attacks are just variations of one button. It doesn't get any easier than that. Next, I'm going to run through Kamala Khan's counter as I know a lot of people have been asking questions about it. Kamala has a counter attack based on her Polymorph Intrinsic. It's a bit different than other characters because without upgrading the skill, all Kamala does is grow and wiggle her way out of an attack. In the intrinsic tree, you will be able to upgrade this parry to a counter attack so that you can hip check after successfully parrying. Later on, this ability can be upgraded again with Palm Strike, which will then cause high stun damage and break enemies' shields. It's also important to note that Kamala can use her counter for ranged abilities too, so if you take the time to really learn both the enemies and the timing behind parrying, Kamala could be untouchable. But those moves are advanced, and while parrying is helpful, this build doesn't need it. Double tapping dodge will be your best friend with Kamala, and even if you're in the middle of channeling a heavy attack, you can quickly drop it to dodge out of the way of a life-threatening blow. Holding dodge and pressing towards an enemy will also allow you to vault over an attacker, which is very useful in the case of shielded enemies. Kamala's strength is in her simplicity. Use dodge and come back with a Rubber Band Bash. If an enemy is shielded and doesn't respond to your heavy attacks or is too dangerous or large to vault over, use her aerial heavy attack combo. When all else fails and you do happen to fall at the hands of an enemy, Life Spark will bring you back up, healing you and bringing you back into the fight without requiring a teammate to resurrect you. Now, let's run through the specialty and mastery tree lines so that we know what skills we need to choose and how to prioritize them. Under the specialty tree, for the support heroic tree, Healing Spirit, you want to prioritize Spirit Walk and Healing Spirit Specialization 1, Life Spark. For the second specialization tree, you want to get Will to Fight, which will give you another charge of Healing Spirit. Later on, you can pick up Team Spirit and Defensive Spirit. For Assault Heroic ability High Five, you want to get the additional charge with Hand Clap. You want to get Too Slow for the Specialization 1 option, which will attack enemies in a wide arc. It's great for killing large groups of flying enemies. The second specialization tree doesn't really matter as much, but I've opted for Intrinsic Orbs for my build, but Heroic Orbs are just as good. For the ultimate heroic ability tree, you want to extend your ultimate as much as possible. Straight down the middle, Living Large will increase the skill by 5 seconds. In Specialization 1, Big Trouble will extend it another 5 seconds. Lastly, Specialization 2, Fists of Fury will extend the duration for 1 second with each enemy you kill. A great way to boost this is to use Embiggen and then use your Assault Heroic ability to kill a lot of little enemies quickly, boosting your Embiggen time. Now let's pop over to the Mastery Tree. The first ability that you want that is paramount to this build is the Takedown Upgrade Heroic Takedown Mastery. You're going to be doing a lot of takedowns, so you want to get this right away so that you are always topped up on your skill's heroic meters. This way, you can use abilities whenever you want. Next, under melee upgrade, you want stun mastery. This way, you don't need to focus so much on finding intensity gear to maximize your stun potential. Lastly, the melee upgrade heroic energy mastery will round out your utility skill tree. The ranged mastery tree can be left out to the very end. There aren't a lot of things here that are really important to the build, but I've opted for ranged concussive mastery in the first ranged upgrade tier. Next, grab efficiency is nice to have just in case you need to pluck an enemy out of the air or prevent a big enemy from attacking foes by holding onto him. Lastly, in the ranged tree, I went with intrinsic grab mastery, simply because it had the highest chance to generate an orb. This selection is really up to you. Under the efficiency tree, prioritize polymorph intensity as it increases the amount of stun damage while you use polymorph. Next, polymorphic regeneration will increase your health faster when polymorphed. And lastly, I went with polymorph damage in the center tree. If you need the additional defense, you can use polymorphic defense, but I found the jump in damage really rounded out the character better. The last tree, the intrinsic mastery tree. Start with polymorphic might, which increases the stun damage yet once again. You really want to be a stun master so you can proc your takedowns, so we're really hitting this hard. In the center tree, perfect evade refunds 30 points of intrinsic energy, and since perfectly evading is far easier than parrying, it works well. You could go with adrenaline surge, but I found that when you don't have a lot of health and your intrinsic meter is low because you were hit during polymorph, adrenaline surge is useless, so I opted to use a skill that regenerates the intrinsic meter. Lastly, rapid regeneration on the right hand tree is the way to go. It increases your health recovery rate at a static 15% with no conditions, so it's perfect in every situation. Hey, now that you have yourself a strong, formidable build, remember that this setup is made for both team play and solo play. With Kamala, you can do anything, and this build will get you there. Before signing off, let's talk quickly about gearing. Obviously, you want to focus on resolve, might, and intensity for your stats, but what about perks? Again, with this build, it's easy. Any status effects produced by heavy attacks are the way to go. If you find gear with increased stun on heavy attacks, perfect. If you find some pimp tech that procs on heavy combo finishers, you can make it work. Kamala also has some great gear perks, such as Embiggen Blitz, which increases the damage you do while embiggened. There are a lot of special gear abilities to choose from, but that is going to have to wait for a follow-up video. If you have any questions, leave them for me in the comments and I'll get to you as soon as possible. I hope you're enjoying Marvel's Avengers, and I hope to see you in game.